When I walked into the bathroom, I noticed in the tub a pale, naked female body laying in there. Next to her was what appeared to be a human internal organ, now laying outside her body next to her in the tub. Her hands were also covered with what appeared to be dry blood.
Think about how hard Christine Holloway's head had to have been hit. Imagine how vulnerable she was. She was in the bathtub at the time of her death. Let's go in now and hear from the medical examiner.
You generally recognize what this is?
Yes.
And what do you recognize it to be?
This is the portion of the skull that was submitted to me after Dr. Hayes completed his autopsy. And
I guess my first question preliminarily is, do you recognize States 194 as being the report that you produced?
yes, this is my report.
And on the last page of this report, do you see your signature on the bottom of this page?
Yes.
So you started to tell us there is a photograph identified as figure 1 in this report. Can you explain to us, first of all, what we are seeing here in figure 1?
Yes, this is the portion of the skull that was submitted to me after Dr. Hayes completed his autopsy. This photo also reflects my reconstruction after I had cleaned the bone from the soft tissue. So this image shows the top view of the reconstructed portion of the cranium, as well as the additional cleaned fragments that weren't reconstructed to the main piece.
Okay, so you just gave us a lot of detail. Can you sort of break it down, first of all, into steps that you perform? So is it fair to say, where I place my highlighter, is that the reconstructed skull that you created?
Yes.
Did it come to you in a series of other pieces?
Yes, it did.
When you received it, the pieces of where my highlighter is, which is the left side of the picture in figure 1, can you tell us the process that you undertook to reconstruct it?
After I received the portion that was submitted to me, I would clean it first using water and a degreaser to help remove the soft tissue so I could adequately see the bone. Once the specimen is dried, I usually just leave it to air dry. Once it's dried, I use a cyanoacrylate, which is a super glue, to reconstruct the pieces of the skull, as you will see here.
Taking you to figure number 2, can you tell us what are we seeing here in figure 2?
This is the right side of the portion of the skull after it's been cleaned and reconstructed. In the top right of the photograph, you can see an arrow and a word, if you can't read that, that says anterior. That means where that highlighter is, yes, is towards the front of the head, the face end. And on the left side of the photo, that is the back of the head. And we are, again, looking at the right side of the head.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, this would be the part of the skull towards the face?
Correct.
And this would be the back side of the skull?
Correct.
So, and we are looking at the skull from the right side of the decedent's head?
Correct.
Now I see in this exhibit there are letters A, B, C, D, and E in this exhibit, figure number 2. Can you tell us what the significance of each of those letters are?
Each of those letters indicates a different impact to this side of the cranium. The letters, while they do go in order from A through E, do not imply the sequence of the impacts. It is just how I describe them in my notes and report. So there's no order of sequence.
And how exactly, can you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury exactly how you go about determining effectively that each one of these, A through E here, is a separate and distinct impact?
I look for features on the bone that tell me these are separate impacts. Typically, I look for areas of impact that have what I call circular or concentric, which are rounded fracture margins. I look for areas of depressed bone, meaning the bone is pushed inwards. I also look for radiating fractures or fractures that emanate out from a particular point.
So for now in figure 2, have you identified areas A, B, C, D, and E, in your opinion, are each separate and distinct impact marks?
Yes, each of those that are labeled with a letter are separate impacts.
Going to figure 3, can you tell us what are we seeing here in your report?
This is the back of the head. This is what I call the posterior of the skull. So we are looking directly at the back of a person's head.
And again, similar lettering E, F, and G. Now, we saw E on the previous exhibit. Is this a second E, or is this a continuation from a different angle of the same E?
The E is the same in both figures.
And again, in the back of the head, then impact points that are new are F and G?
Correct.
Next page of your report, figure 4. Can you tell us what we are looking at here?
Figure 4 is the left side of the head. So again, in the top left of the photo, there is an arrow pointing towards the anterior or front. That is the face area. And on the right side of the photo, that is the posterior or back. So we are looking at the left side of the head.
And again, there are additional lettering in this particular figure of G and H. Again, do you have an opinion with regard to those as being points of impact?
Yes, G and H are each separate points of impact.
And you started to talk about the several sort of fractures, in terms of what you're looking for. Is G a relatively good example of the type of visual fractures that you're seeing?
G is an example of a linear fracture, yes.
And again, H in terms of,
That's what the record
is H depicting again another what seems to be a fracture line?
There is more than one fracture line depicted at H. You can see it kind of looks like an upside down Y-shaped at the top of the letter H. So that is what I would consider a focal point of impact, where there was an impact at the area where those fracture lines intersect and radiate out from that spot.
Showing you figure 5 on 4th page. Can you tell us what we are looking at here?
This is a closer view of impact A, which was on the front right side of the head. And it shows the what I would describe as ovoid or rounded shape, and the bone is depressed or pushed inward. There is also a little bit of hair embedded inside that fracture.
And again, there's a scale that appears to be on the bottom and on the right side of the photograph. Do you put that there to provide scale to somebody looking at this photograph?
Yes.
And is that a round, depressed mark, which you have referred to, approximately 1 inch in diameter?
I actually use centimeters, and that scale is in centimeters, and it is about 1.5 centimeters by 1 centimeter.
So going back now to figure 1 on the first page, I believe your testimony was this is sort of the final reconstruction of the skull. Was my understanding correct?
Yes.
And that's on the left.
Correct.
And that's what you, in your subsequent figures in your report, were referring to, where you were labeling all of the letters.
Yes.
Now, on the right, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, what appeared to be pieces that are separate on the side of the photograph. What are those?
Those are fragments of the cranium that I could not reconstruct due to some areas of missing bone, especially on the right side and the back part of the cranium.
So after you constructed then the fractures that you were able to piece back together on the complete skull on the left, there were some pieces that you couldn't put back into the skull?
Correct.
Because you were missing bone, but to be able to show where they came from?
Correct.
So, doctor, based upon your reconstruction of the skull of Christine Holloway with regard to case number 19-21392, do you have an opinion based upon a reasonable degree of medical or scientific certainty as to the minimum number of impacts that caused these fractures on the skull of Christine Holloway?
Yes, there's a minimum of 8 blunt impacts to the cranium.
And in terms of being at a minimum, is there the possibility that there were more?
Yes, there is the possibility that there were more, especially on the right side where I do have some areas of missing bone.
Is it due to the lack of bone that you cannot make a conclusive determination as to where bone is missing?
It's possible that some pieces were not recovered or were not submitted to me, and also the autopsy cut separates out part of the bone that sometimes I can't reconstruct it fully. So there may be an absence of bone in that area where there's more than the impacts that I have described in the photos.
So you describe a minimum of 8 impacts.
Correct.
I have nothing further.
Thank you. Hi, Doctor.
Good morning.
How are you? Just one question for you. Dr. Hartnett McCann, despite your reconstruction efforts of the skull, which was introduced as the exhibit, you can't tell us how Christine Holloway sustained those injuries. Is that correct?
I cannot.
Thank you. No other questions.
Anything further from the state?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. You may exit.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Please watch your step across the floor.
My goodness, what a way to die. You know, we see those bones, but of course here we're mindful that there was a woman there who was killed, a young mother, 43 years old at the time she was so brutally taken from this earth. We're remembering victim Christine Holloway here on this show and her beautiful daughter, Vanessa. Where is baby Vanessa this morning? She hasn't been declared dead, but it has been 6 years since anyone has seen her.